During the midnight night shift, a young woman with an ectopic pregnancy was brought to the emergency room. I calmly asked surgery is necessary immediately. Where are the family members? The woman was in too much pain to speak and struggled to dial a number and hand the phone to me. I took the phone, and before I could speak, my husband Fooling's voice came from the other end. Honey, what happened? Hearing this address, I was stunned. I subconsciously glanced at the phone screen. It showed Fooling's number. With the note clearly reading, husband, why aren't you speaking? What's wrong? His usual calm voice was filled with an unusual anxiety. I clenched my fists tightly, forcing back the tremor in my voice. Fooling, I'm in the emergency room. Before I could finish speaking, I hung up the phone. The woman in the wheelchair was pale and on the verge of fainting from pain. She was losing a lot of blood. Her condition was critical, and surgery was needed immediately. At this moment, I was the only doctor who could perform the operation. Fooling arrived in just 10 minutes. I had already changed into surgical clothes and was standing outside the operating room waiting for him. How is she now? His eyes were a little flustered, but more of it was concern. I handed him the pre-operative consent form. Sewer OU, 23 years old, massive hemorrhage from ectopic pregnancy, left fallopian tube must be removed. Please sign. Fooling was stunned for a moment, obviously not expecting me to be so calm, but he quickly lowered his head and signed his name under Sewer OU's. I was about to turn around and enter the operating room when he suddenly grabbed my hand. Why wait? He stared at me, his eyes full of nervousness and unease, stabbing my heart like a needle. Don't you trust me? I responded expressionlessly. As long as you sign, you can transfer her to another hospital at any time. At this moment, Fooling, who was usually cold and arrogant in his suit, had red eyes and begged, wait, it's all my fault. She's innocent. I smiled sarcastically and turned around to walk into the operating room. Sewer OU on the operating table had a delicate face, and even under anesthesia, she was still so beautiful that it made people feel sorry for her. Looking at her, I felt a mix of emotions. I was both a betrayed wife and a doctor saving lives. This absurdity and cruelty were too real to accept. 2 hours later, I walked out of the operating room tiredly. Fooling rushed over eagerly, wanting to ask something, but I waved him off and walked straight to the locker room. After changing clothes, Fooling was already waiting in the office. She hasn't woken up yet. The anesthesia is still wearing off. It will take 20 minutes. Hearing this, his furrowed brows relaxed a little. He turned his gaze to me and showed apology for the first time. Wait, I'm sorry. I can't control my feelings. I will make it up to you. Please, don't hurt her. Okay. My mentor once said that I was born to be a doctor because I was emotionally stable, indifferent, and not easily affected by external factors. But I just had to fall in love with a colder man. After 3 years of marriage, Fooling treated me quite well, sending flowers on holidays, giving gifts on my birthday, and being thoughtful to my parents. In the eyes of others, I was an extremely lucky woman. But no one knew that there was only politeness between us. He never quarreled with me, never showed affection to me, and even in bed, he never called me wife. It wasn't until today that I heard him call someone else honey in a gentle tone. I finally understood that it's not that he couldn't show weakness or be nervous, it's just that his tenderness and preference never belonged to me. I had just saved his lover, but he regarded me as a bad woman who would hurt her at any time. It was really ironic and bleak. Looking at the dawn outside the window, I said coldly, Fooling, let's get a divorce. Fooling lowered his head and sighed softly. Wait. It's not possible now. You know Grandma, I smiled bitterly. Sure enough, it's for Grandma. I knew Fooling too well. Once he fell in love with someone else, he would divorce without hesitation. He had Sewer OU's existence only because he was afraid of making Grandma angry. Grandma was in the advanced stage of cancer, and her time was running out. I was her favorite granddaughter minus law, and Fooling didn't dare to stimulate her. So I have to continue acting as your wife, and step aside for someone else when Grandma passes away? I stared at him. Fu Ling, I have to fulfill both your filial piety and your feelings, right? Fu Ling's face turned ugly. Why wait, that's not what I mean. The office door suddenly opened, and a nurse spoke to her head and Director Zhu. The patient has returned to the warden has been calling for her family. Fu Ling immediately stood up and walked out quickly, stirring up a cool breeze. I checked the time and followed silently. In the ward, the handover doctor was already waiting. While handing over the work, I looked at Sewer OU. She had just woken up from anesthesia. Fragile and helpless, Fu Ling held her hand tightly, and the affection in his eyes was almost overflowing. It hurts so much. It's all your fault. It's all my fault. Don't be angry. I won't touch you again. Good girl. I stood 3 meters away, watching this scene with my own eyes, the usual calm sea. He always teasing a girl so gently in front of everyone, which was both romantic and disgusting. After handing over the work, I turned around and left quickly. Fu Ling looked up at me. It didn't follow. Walking out of the hospital gate, my tense heart suddenly relaxed. At this moment, I was no longer a doctor, just Su Waiwei. Sorrow surged like a flood, my head became heavier and heavier. But my steps became lighter and lighter. Waiwei off work? I heard you had another emergency last night. What bad luck. Huh? Why is your face so pale? Someone called me. I looked up, it was my senior brother Li Zuran. The next moment, my eyes went blackened. I fell heavily to the ground. My ears were buzzing, and I vaguely heard Li Zuran's roar. Quickly notify the emergency room. So I wait, hold on. When I woke up, I was lying in the intensive care unit. The nurse soon called Li Zuran. You had such a bad cold last week. I told you not to come to work, but you insisted on toughing it out. You even had surgery in the middle of the night. Are you exhausted? Acute myocarditis is no joke. Fortunately, I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon and saved you in time. Li Zuran scolded me as harshly as usual. I said softly, Thank you, senior brother. I stared at him blankly, and the grievance in my heart suddenly erupted. Hairs streaming down uncontrollably. The pain of betrayal and the fear of narrowly escaping death almost crushed me. Li Zuran suddenly fell silent, his eyes serious and unfamiliar to me. Oh, don't cry. Your blood pressure has soared to 150th. I'm here. Don't be afraid. After staying in the ICU for 2 days, I was transferred to a general ward. Li Zuran specially arranged a private ward for me to rest at ease. When Fu Ling came to see me, his eyes were full of apology. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were sick last week. Fortunately, you're okay. I looked at him, feeling nothing in my heart when he faced me. There was only guilt and self minus blame, never a trace of affection. His heart was no longer with me, and perhaps it had never belonged to me. Fu Ling, please let me go, okay? I said softly. I will hide it from Grandma and go with you, but we must get a divorce. Fu Ling still wanted to retain me. I interrupted him coldly. Fu Ling, you have to bear the consequences of your own mistakes. While I'm still willing to talk to you nicely, don't make things irreversible. Fu Ling was stunned, fell silent for a long time, and nodded gently okay. After he left, I was thinking about the future when the ward door suddenly opened. Suor Ou stood at the door leaning on the frame, her eyes red like a wounded little beast. Sister, can you give Brother Fu Ling back to me? I can't live without him. Seeing me silent, she took a step forward and said anxiously, Sister, I really love Brother Fu Ling and can't live without him. Your marriage has already come to an end. Why do you insist on holding on to him? You are a doctor, a noble person. You should be more magnanimous, right? I stared at her coldly, a sneer appearing on my lips. Do you know who performed your surgery? You bit her lip and said softly, I know it's you, but this is your duty. Don't threaten me with this. This is moral kidnapping. Mistress, how dare you talk to me about morality? I couldn't help but sneer. Her face turned red instantly, and she shouted angrily, "I'm not a mistress. Brother Fu Ling and I are truly in love. The one who clings on without love is the mistress." I originally wanted a peaceful divorce. After all, we had no children or property disputes, and Fu Ling had promised to compensate me. But Suaroyu's attitude made me completely disappointed in Fu Ling. I looked at her and said slowly, "Miss Su, we doctors have professional ethics and won't casually disclose patients' privacy, but Fu Ling has no idea about your secret of multiple abortions. Moreover, Fu Ling is still my husband. If I want to tell him, it only takes one sentence." Suaroyu's face turned pale instantly. I had long guessed that the child Suaroyu had aborted was definitely not Fu Ling's. Fu Ling had strong principles. Even if he couldn't marry her, he would never allow her to have a voluntary abortion. Suaroyu pointed at me in panic. Her eyes fierce. "You're talking nonsense. Stop spreading rumors." I checked. Abortions leave traces. More than 3 times. A professional obstetrician and gynecologist can tell at a glance. I responded calmly. "Miss Su, you're only 23 years old. You've played really crazy." Suaroyu completely panicked and rushed at me, hitting me. I was lying down and my shoulders were hit a few times. Anger was instantly aroused, and I slapped her back a few times. I had lived for almost 30 years, and never thought I would fight like a shrew, but she hit me first. And I had no reason not to fight back. Unexpectedly, Suaroyu suddenly screamed and pulled her hair frantically. When the medical staff rushed in, she knelt by my bed, holding her stomach and shouting, "Doctors, you kill me. You saved me. I'll pay you back. Don't pester Fu Ling anymore." Everyone looked at each other in confusion. At this moment, Li Suran arrived, pulled Suaroyu out, and muttered, "What department didn't take good care of their patient? Take her away quickly. Doctors just came out of the ICU. Who is responsible if something happens?" Everyone hurried to take Suaroyu away. Li Suran closed the door and turned around, looking at me with a gloomy face. "Did she hit you?" I followed his gaze and saw 2 bright red scratches on my hand. "She did, but I fought back too. I didn't suffer a loss." Li Suran sighed and took my hand to disinfect it. Looking at his focused back, I asked, "Did you know about Fu Ling and Suaroyu a long time ago?" "Yes," he responded in a low voice. "They were so blatant in the ward, who couldn't see it?" I fell silent for a moment and asked again, "Do all you men like women like her?" Li Suran's hand suddenly tightened, making me gasp in pain. He looked up at me. "Don't you women like her to Barang Cos too?" I pouted on not. He smiled. "Fortunately, I'm not that kind of man either." At that moment, the ward door was suddenly pushed open. Fu Ling walked in, his gaze falling on Li Suran and me holding hands, with a complex look in his eyes. "What are you doing?" Li Suran finished bandaging my hand, bypassed Fu Ling with a cold expression, and left directly. I looked at Fu Ling expressionlessly. "You're quite fast. Didn't you go to see your little white flower?" Fu Ling sat opposite me, his gaze sweeping over the bandage on my hand, and said slowly, "Wai Wei is still young and innocent. She's been holding back for too long, and this time she was too excited. She lost her child in her left fallopian tube. I can't hurt her anymore. She's in a dangerous state now. Unless you tell her personally that we will get a divorce, she won't believe it. I'm worried she will have a massive hemorrhage if she gets excited." I couldn't help but laugh. Fu Ling, I used to think that the infatuated CEO in novels was too exaggerated, but now it seems that life is more wonderful than art. She's in a dangerous state, but am I not? She took the initiative to come to the door to quarrel and hit me, and I still have to coax her. You are not the protagonist of a novel, and I am not your tool. Hitting someone is illegal. I didn't call the police, which is already giving you face. Now the whole unit knows that I was betrayed and performed surgery on my betrayer's lover. Can the harm you caused be offset by a single sorry? Fu Ling fell silent for a long time and nodded gently. "I understand." I pressed, "When will we go through the divorce procedures?" "I will draft the agreement these 2 days, and we will go through it after Grandma's birthday at the beginning of next month." I didn't say anything else and acquiesced to this arrangement. After Fu Ling left, I immediately called my senior sister and said simply emergency help. I need to check someone. The incident of Sewer OU making a scene in the ward attracted the attention of the hospital leaders. Rumors began to spread in the hospital that I had hit a patient. In the end, I was forced to take a 1-month leave of absence and could only return to work after the incident died down. 3 days later, Li Zuran drove me home. When I was entering the password, the door suddenly opened. Fu Ling stood at the door, looking at Li Zuran and me with a complex expression. I ignored him, said goodbye to Li Zuran, and walked straight into the house. Unexpectedly, Fu Ling followed me in. Why, Wei, I remember Li Zuran as your schoolmate. His eyes were deep, his tone suppressed. You like him, so you have no intention of retaining me, right? I was stunned for a few seconds before realizing what he was saying. Fu Ling, make it clear. It's you who had an affair, and you still want me to retain you. Isn't that ridiculous? Fu Ling's eyes turned red. Su Weiwei, we have been married for 3 years. Even raising a dog would have feelings. What am I in your heart? A casually discarded piece of trash? He approached and hugged me tightly with a faint smell of red wine on his body. Weiwei, I don't understand how you can have no jealousy at all. Seeing you with other men is driving me crazy. Now, I really can't bear to let you go. I struggled hard to break free from him, hurried out of the house, took a taxi to the hotel, sent a message to Li Zuran to report my safety, and then fell into a deep sleep. Days passed quickly. My senior sister came to see me. During the chat, she talked about Li Zuran thanks to him this time. When he carried you into the emergency room, he was so flustered that his hands were shaking. After rescuing you, he sat alone in the stairwell for half an hour. He has had a crush on you since college. When you and Fu Ling made your relationship public, he swallowed his confession. He hasn't been in a relationship or gotten married all these years because he can't bear to let you go. My senior sister's words stunned me. It turned out that the complex emotions in Li Zuran's eyes were all the love he had hidden for many years. Soon, Grandma's 70th birthday arrived. She was in the advanced stage of cancer, and this might be her last birthday. I bought her favorite flowers and a pearl necklace, and went to the ward with Fu Ling. Grandma was so thin that her bones were visible, but she still happily let me put the necklace on her and held my hand and said, "Why, Wei, hurry up and give me a great grandson." I looked at Fu Ling and forced a smile. Okay, we will try our best. At that moment, Su Rou stood at the door holding a gift and said softly, "Grandma, I'm here to see you." Grandma looked confused. Whose child is this? I don't have a granddaughter. Fu Ling's face turned gloomy instantly. What are you doing here? Nonsense. Su Rou cried and said, "Brother, I just want to see Grandma. I am with you." Shut up. Fu Ling was furious, pulled Su Rou and left the ward. Grandma was so angry that she couldn't breathe. I quickly gave her oxygen. After she recovered, she held my hand tightly. "Why, Wei, Grandma is still here. That wild woman will never enter the Fu family's door. I'm sorry, I made you wronged." After settling Grandma down, I walked out of the hospital. Fu Ling and Su Rou were quarreling. I ignored them and got into Li Zuran's car directly. "I want to go to the snack street behind the university," I said softly. After so many years, the snack street was still the same. We sat in the familiar ramen shop. I looked at the confession R on the wall and asked, "You remember that you once posted a note here and refused to let me see it no matter what?" Li Zuran stared at me, stood up, tore off a yellowed purple note from the highest place and handed it to me. "I remember, it's right there. Do you want to see it?" I casually put the note in my pocket. I already knew what was written on it. The next day, Fu Ling and I arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau on time to get a divorce. Fu Ling still wanted to retain me. "Why, can you give me a chance? At least for Grandma's sake." I handed over my ID card. "Time is tight. Let's hurry up." Half an hour later, I was officially single again. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Li Zuran was already waiting outside. Fu Ling looked at us and finally didn't dare to catch up. After I got in the car, I sent Fu Ling a compressed file as the last gift from me to him. I moved into a new house and returned to work after recovering. Although there were strange looks, I was extremely calm. Living a real life was the most important thing. When Suorou came for a Ray- examination, she was still arrogant. Zuiwei. Stop pretending to be an angel. Fu Ling is wholeheartedly devoted to me. Don't try to break us up. I raised my eyebrows. Even if you use his money to pay off your ex-boyfriend's debts, he can tolerate it. I wish you happiness. Suorou completely lost her temper, threatening to ruin my reputation. I snorted and signaled the security guard to come in. She left angrily, and I sent the recording just now to Fu Ling. It wasn't until the evening that Fu Ling replied to me. Why Wei? Grandma's gone. The next day, I attended Grandma's funeral and sent her off for the last time. A few days later, Fu Ling came to see me, completely drunk. Wai Wei. I broke up with Suorou. She forced me to give her money by threatening to make a scene at the funeral and your unit, then ran away with her ex-boyfriend. I lost Grandma. I can't lose you anymore. Give me a chance, let's start over, okay? I sent a message to Fu Ling's secretary, asking him to come pick him up. Before leaving, I told the secretary, when he sobers up, tell him that there is absolutely no possibility between us. Then, I sent a message to Li Zuran. My ex-husband came to beg for reconciliation. Soon, Li Zuran arrived in a hurry, nervously checking the room. Did he bully you? I smiled and told him he's already gone. Before settling the score with him, let's settle the score between us first. I handed him the yellowed note. Give this back to you. You will always be my senior brother. Li Zuran held the note, smiled bitterly, reached out to support the back of my neck, and kissed me gently. Shuaiwei, be my girlfriend. I smiled and kissed him back. Okay. Mr. Coward. The note fell to the ground, with a love message that a boy had hidden for many years written on it. Shuaiwei. I really like you.